Today's episode covers a Jane Doe unsolved case. This case is one of Arizona's oldest Jane Doe cases and remains unsolved to this date. Her identity has been identified after 39 years, but the murderer still remains unknown. For 39 years, this Jane Doe was well known as Valentine Sally. Authorities on this case gave her this name due to the date that her body was found, February 14th, 1982, in a rural place in northern Arizona. On this date, an Arizona Department of Public Safety officer was searching for a tire that came off a motorist alongside Interstate 39 west of Williams. As the public safety officer was searching for this tire, he came across the disturbing decomposing body of Valentine Sally. Valentine Sally was found face down under a cedar tree along Interstate 40 west of Williams. She was wearing blue jeans that were a size 8 or 9 with the brand name Seasons, a white sweater with thin red stripes, and a white bra size 36C. When Valentine Sally was found, she was only found wearing the blue jeans with broken belt loops. The sweater and bra were found nearby her body. She was approximately 5'5" to 5'6" feet tall and weighed about 120 pounds. She had straight shoulder-length strawberry blonde hair. Valentine Sally did have a scar that healed on the front of her right thigh. Upon further investigation, authorities determined that Valentine Sally was dragged to her location and placed there. Authorities believe that Valentine Sally was dead for approximately 2 weeks prior to being found. An autopsy was performed on Valentine Sally, but the cause of her death could not be determined due to the condition of her body. It was winter and it was very cold. It was very difficult for the examiner to get information from her body as animals had destroyed parts of her body. Her right ear was missing. There were no reports of any indication that she was sexually assaulted. The medical examiner did state that Valentine Sally could have been suffocated or strangled, but that it was still difficult to conclude on the cause of her death. They also found aspirin on her back left lower molar. It did seem that at least 1 week prior to her death, Valentine Sally had a tooth drilled in for a root canal to be conducted in the future. So it seemed like Valentine Sally was not neglecting her well-being and was able to pay for dental work. This piece of evidence would also be an important link to a key witness in the case. Investigators began searching for witnesses from the area to see if anyone recognized her. Investigators turned to news outlets and printed newspapers in search of key witnesses. Approximately 2 weeks after Valentine Sally's body was found, investigators went to a nearby truck stop restaurant. This is when they meet Patricia Wilkins. Patricia Wilkins was a 35-year-old waitress and a partial owner of the Monte Carlo restaurant. This restaurant was well known as a truck stop, so it was opened very late. When investigators showed Patricia a picture of the clothes that were found on Valentine Sally, Patricia instantly recognized the clothing and said, quote, "I know that girl," quote. Patricia shared that she believes she saw her on February 4th in the early morning during her graveyard shift, which is a term used for a shift that runs early or overnight morning hours. She said that Valentine Sally and an unknown male in his 50s walked into the restaurant. The unknown male ordered a coffee, and Valentine Sally ordered water. Patricia did have some interaction with Valentine Sally. Valentine Sally was complaining of a toothache on the left lower side of her mouth. So Patricia crushed an aspirin for her, which was found during the medical examination. Based on Patricia's observation, Patricia said it looked like they knew each other, and nothing about their relationship seemed unusual. Patricia never suspected that he would hurt her and described their interactions as best of friends or a possible relative of hers. Valentine Sally seemed happy as she was described as a very pretty young girl who smiled a lot.
Patty Wilkins is one of the last people to see Carolyn alive. She remembers serving the teen and an older man at a nearby truck stop.
He didn't act like he was going to hurt her or anything. They were like best of friends.
Patricia wasn't too concerned, as the only unusual thing about the situation was seeing a young girl with an older male at that time of day. Because of the unusual time and clear visible indication that she looked very young, like a very young teenager, Patricia did ask Valentine Sally if she was safe or wanted to stay at the restaurant. Valentine Sally still seemed comfortable and said, quote, "No, I'll go with him," quote. Patricia was able to provide more description of the unknown male to authorities. She said he was an older man, approximately in his 50s, and that he wore a cowboy hat with a peacock feather at the front. According to the Doe Network site, which is the International Center for Unidentified and Missing Persons, the suspect is also described to have worn a two-tone brown checked leather vest. Authorities believe once leaving the restaurant, Valentine Sally was killed shortly after. To this day, it is believed that Patricia may have been the last witness to have seen and interact with Valentine Sally alive. As the years went on, life went on, but for Patricia, this case remained close to her heart. She always remained haunted at the fact that she was most likely the last person to have seen her alive. Valentine's Day was never the same for Patricia. Patricia never celebrated Valentine's Day again. She could never forget about her encounter with Valentine Sally, and she always felt that she should have done more to help her. Patricia even helped pay to bury Valentine Sally using money out of her own pocket. She never forgot about the smiley young girl. Patricia felt that Valentine Sally was like one of her own daughters. Valentine Sally's case went cold until 2 years later, when authorities believed they had identified Valentine Sally. In July 1984, authorities had assistance from an Albuquerque orthodontist and a forensic artist who identified the body as a 14-year-old girl named Melody Cutlip. Based on a news article published in 1986, it states that Melody had no dental records, so this prompted the detectives to gain assistance of using other identifying techniques of forensic from Homer Campbell of Albuquerque. Melody was reported missing by her mother in 1980 and would have been 16 years old at the time authorities discovered Valentine Sally's body. However, Melody's mother did not believe that Valentine Sally was her daughter Melody. Authorities strongly believed that Melody was a match to Valentine Sally, and Melody's name was added to the headstone of Valentine Sally. However, this conclusion ended up changing as in the summer of 1986, Melody Cutlip returned safely home. According to a news article, Melody spent 6 years traveling around the country working at swap meets, which are traveling flea markets. Melody neglected to contact family members throughout the 6 years of being missing. Melody had no awareness that she was declared dead. This reappearance of Melody Cutlip would turn Valentine Sally back to being an unidentified Jane Doe person once again. According to the Doe Network, another witness did come forward. A student from Northern Arizona University who was driving 100 miles from Monte Carlo near Cordes Junction. This student said he had given a ride to a very young girl on February 2nd, 1982. The young girl told the student that she was coming from Phoenix but had left her friends and family. She worked as a dishwasher, but because of family issues, she wanted to relocate to New Jersey. She said she was planning to go to the Little America truck stop when arriving in Flagstaff to try and catch another ride from a truck driver to the East Coast. Authorities believe there is a possibility that Valentine Sally may have visited a dentist in the Phoenix area prior to February 2nd, 1982. Valentine Sally continued to be investigated, and hope still remained that Valentine Sally's identity would be found. In 2014, a new facial reconstruction from Valentine Sally's skull was made by a forensic artist. Detectives once again turned to the public for help. Again, the years went on, and there were still no leads to who Valentine Sally was and how her faith came to an end. Valentine Sally's case was given to many different detectives, but evidently ended up to cold case detectives, as all the leads and tips reached nowhere. With the assistance from many different agencies, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, and the Arizona Department of Public Safety all helped and positively identified Valentine Sally through familial DNA. With the help of a private company that specializes in DNA processing, they were able to locate potential family members of Valentine Sally and obtained DNA samples, which in the end were a match to Valentine Sally. Authorities announced on February 22nd, 2021, Valentine Sally's real identity being Caroline Eaton, a 17-year-old female from St. Louis, Missouri. Detectives quickly traveled to St. Louis to conduct an interview with the family. Detectives shared that upon meeting with the family, Caroline's family were in awestruck and asked detectives, quote, "Is this about Caroline?" quote. Detectives discovered that Caroline was one of 6 siblings. The family revealed that they had a sibling who had run away from home around Christmas in 1981. Caroline lived in Belle Fountain Neighbors in St. Louis County. According to a news report, Caroline was not reported missing at the time of her death. I was unable to find any reports of when Caroline was reported missing. As for Patricia, the positive identification brought back bittersweet feelings. Patricia was once again mourning the loss of Valentine Sally as Patricia grew to have a deep love for this young girl who became like one of her own. She said, quote, "It's only been me and her, but now she's got a family. Isn't that great? It doesn't get any better. We've got a name, and I'm no longer in charge of her. I love you, and I'm glad you're going home," quote. I really think it's amazing that as the years went on, Patricia always advocated for Valentine Sally by conducting interviews whenever possible. Valentine Sally's case always had someone advocating for her. This is an incredible, bittersweet Jane Doe story that gives so much hope to other Jane Doe cases, especially ones that have been unsolved and have gone cold. This incident happened in 1982, and a positive identification was made in 2021. After 39 years, a positive identification was made. However, there are so many questions that still need to be answered. For example, Caroline ran away during Christmas time of 1981, but her body was discovered February 14, 1982. There were 2 witnesses that came forward with encounters with Caroline, but there are so many days unaccounted for. For example, what happened the night she ran away? Where did she go? Where did she stay? Did she have some kind of help? We know she hitched a few rides, but how about the other days? How did she pay for the dental work? Which dentist did she go to? Also, I was unable to find any confirmation if the second witness story matched the description of Caroline working as a dishwasher prior to running away from home. I still believe this case needs more coverage and reports in solving who did this to Caroline. To this day, Caroline Eaton, aka Valentine Sally's cause of death and murderer is still a mystery. I know this case has remained unsolved for many decades, but life can be very surprising, so there is still hope considering after 39 years she has been identified. I know so much time has passed. The unknown suspect was predicted to be in his 50s, so there is a possibility that he is deceased or may still be alive and in his 90s now. The unsolved murder case of Caroline Eaton remains open and ongoing. Unfortunately, that's all I have on this unsolved Jane Doe murder case. I truly hope that over time this case can be solved and provide more closure for Caroline's family. I'd love to hear your feedback and questions that you still may have. Comment if there's any possible information that I may have missed, as I did my very best to conduct a deep research. A kind reminder to please be mindful of negative comments, as these are real people's lives. All I want to do is bring light to cases that are not always talked about and advocate for victims and their families. Until the next case, please stay safe and always spread kindness.